Motivational Mindset Podcast with Switch Motivation. Hello and welcome to episode 2. My name is Richard Knight and this week I'll be speaking to Terema Wainwright, who's an actor, actor's agent, manifestation and mindset coach based in the beautiful New Forest in the south of England. This week we'll be talking all about universal forces, goal setting and shutting down those apps. Enjoy!
Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me. It is a delight to be able to come on and talk about this. I am a regular booking TV actress, and I am also an agent for other actors, and I'm also a mindset and manifestation coach for actors too, to help them use mindset and manifestation to excel in their acting careers.
And what do you do in your spare time? Because clearly you can't have any. That's absolutely incredible. Don't forget you've got a family as well, I believe.
I do have a family as well. Yeah, I've got 2 children and a husband, and I take a lot of responsibility as well, taking care of my mum, making sure that she has everything she needs because she's a bit older. And, I think as you get a bit older, sometimes you need a little bit of help from people who understand all the way the modern world works now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it sounds like, that motivation piece for you is really important to be able to keep your focus and keep going with all of those things that you have in your life. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so important. I think it's really easy to get overwhelmed as well if you've got all these things and it feels like you've just chucked a load of balls up in the air. And then you're just like thinking, how on earth do I catch all of these?
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners can sort of connect with that. It's often those times when you sit down and you look at what you've got to do and suddenly you get a little bit more anxious because of the amount of things that you have to consider and juggle. So it's really interesting from that point of view. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Just before we do go into there, I'm sure our listeners, there may well be a lot of actors out there listening. But there may not. There may be people who are thinking, well, this, Richard spoke about motivation in business. Acting's a business, though, yeah? How does that work for you?
Absolutely.
Would it be great to hear a little bit about how you got into your acting and how you make it a business? That'd be really interesting.
Well, I got into acting because I've just always loved it since school. Just always loved it. And I just felt this pull. I felt this calling. And even though, a lot of people around me were saying, that's crazy, you don't want to go into that industry, that's really hard, you're going to struggle, you're going to end up making coffees more than you are actually working for people, I just couldn't ignore the calling. And I did spend a lot of years actually struggling as a struggling actor. But what I learned was when I discovered the law of attraction and the laws of the universe was actually, it was the way that I was thinking that was causing my results, that was causing me to keep struggling, because I kept absorbing those beliefs of everyone around me that it was a tough industry. And so that's what was showing up in my results, because I had these subconscious thoughts that it's going to be hard, it's going to be really tough. And so I found it really, really tough. So I don't know if many of your listeners know about the law of attraction, but it's a universal law. There are lots of laws of the universe, such as gravity. It is just a law. We are always, working with that law. So with gravity, we're always being pulled down to the earth. Whether we might like to float off into the air, it's just not going to happen. Unless, you do something to work against it. And the law of attraction states that like energy attracts like energy. Sorry, I didn't put my teeth in today.
No, that's fine. We understood.
And that also reflects in our thoughts. So like thoughts attract aligned thoughts that shows up in our lives as well. So if we believe things like it's going to be really hard, it will be really hard. And that can be true of anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'll draw our listeners back to your introduction, because you introduced yourself as a regular booking
regular booking TV actress.
Now, really interesting, isn't it? that language that you use there, explain a little bit why or how that works for you from that motivational mindset point of view.
Well, because I always used to believe that I was a struggling actor. And so that's what I kept attracting. And so if I wanted to become a regular booking TV actor, which was always the dream, I had to start I had to start reprogramming my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that I had to do was find it in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and then I could attract it into my reality. Whereas I think what often detracts people is they keep seeing bad things happen in their lives, bad
Mm-hmm.
things happening in the news, um, um, uh, reacting to like a big bill or something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and being
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden everything's going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And their focus is on things going wrong. And when you focus on things going wrong, things keep going wrong because of the law of attraction.
It's so true. It is so true. It's one of those things that you notice. I mean, it's almost like if you're going to buy a new car, you start noticing the car that you're interested in. You see it
Yeah.
around a lot more. The brain is working in a slightly different way, isn't it? And that's really interesting to me because when I speak to a lot of people or hear people talk about manifesting and law of attraction, they sort of start, yeah, what that airy fairy stuff. What's
Yeah.
that all about? You just sit there and go, I want, and it appears.
Yeah,
And
there is definitely
that,
a lot of skepticism around
mhm,
it, and people think you're just wishing on the moon. And
yeah,
that, I mean, there are people around there who post a lot about stuff like that, so it doesn't really help help brands, so to say,
yeah,
you know. But I mean, really, when you talk about it from a mindset point of view,
mhm,
that's when it really starts to make a lot of sense,
yeah,
how you program your mind, because our minds are all programmed from when we're born. What we are, what our parents are like, what our friends are like, what our neighbors are like, what our teachers are like, all the beliefs that they have, they imprint it upon us,
mhm,
and they become our beliefs. So if we surround ourselves with people who say things that are not going to benefit our lives, but as well meaning as they
mhm,
might want to be, they'll be saying it to you because they want to protect you, they want you to have a good life, they don't want you to run into any danger. Whereas actually what they're actually doing in a unknowingly is actually stopping you from
mhm,
going for what you want.
yeah.
That you're saying, I want this dream, and they're saying, oh, be careful, don't do that. And so you're thinking, oh, I better be careful because otherwise something bad's going to happen, so I better not do it.
That's so true, isn't it? So true. You got all these lovely people around you who love you and want to be part of your life, and what they're doing is putting the brakes on without knowing that that's the case. And I think from a parenting point of view, and this is really interesting, and we talk business and motivational mindset, but from a parenting mindset as well, going back to that language when we're saying don't do this, don't do that, make sure this doesn't happen, make sure that. What about the positives? What if?
Yeah,
What if? No, go and do it because that's
yeah.
one of the key things. So I think one of the key things that we talk about from a motivational mindset point of view is that risk and failure is okay as well. Does
Oh,
that still fit
100%.
from your point of view, from that sort of
Yeah,
universal point of view?
100%.
Hmm.
100%. I mean, because, you've got to make mistakes. You're not going to go through life with everything working out perfectly all the time,
Hmm.
but we learn, we grow from our mistakes. And in a way, that is the universe that sort of guiding us as well. It's like,
Hmm.
right, this is the lesson that you need to learn, and that is going to make you stronger for the next chapter in your life. So what you're actually asking for, how does this help you grow? So if a audition does go wrong and you don't get it,
Hmm.
rather than beating yourself up for it, think, okay, what did I wrong? If anything wrong, is
Hmm.
there anything I could have done differently?
Yeah.
And did I go in with this mindset like, oh, I don't know if I'm really good enough for this, and hope they like me, rather than actually what they need you to do is to turn up and be the character that they
Yeah.
want you to be.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting from that sort of putting yourself outside your comfort zone piece. I don't know whether our listeners are aware of this, but I am an actor as well. I am a successful
Hey.
booking actor as well.
You
And
are.
However, there are times that I've learnt significant amounts from not getting some work, which have made such a difference when you're going for an next audition, when you're doing an next self-tape. So again, people don't know if they're not actors out there. There's a lot of online auditions these days via self-tapes, Zoom, etc., etc. And it's a different way of doing something, and you haven't got somebody there giving you feedback straight away. So you have to learn in different ways, don't you? And that mindset can be massively impacted. I found that if I put something in and worry about have they got it, have they received it, what do they think, when am I going to hear, all I'm doing is concentrating on that and not the next thing that I need to concentrate on. So from my point of view, and a top tip I think across anything that we're doing is don't forget about what you've done, but put it in a place and move forward. And
Exactly. When it's done, it's done. That's out of
yeah,
your control then you've got to let it go.
yeah. Yeah, so it's one of the key things, isn't it, from that sort of universal law point of view, is that, we're in the now, and the now is important. Is that right?
That is true. Yeah, the now is important. But also I think, there is a thing about perspective as well.
Hmm.
If you're focusing on all the negatives, of the like, oh, hope they got it. Oh, what do they think of it? Oh, what do they think of me? Was it even worth me taping in the first place? All these horrible thoughts that go through your head when you've sent off a tape.
Yeah.
What do they think of me? I think if you can shift your perspective and go, actually, what if they actually really loved it? What
Yeah.
if they thought this was great? What if it's the best tape they've seen all day? That energy can actually change your
Yeah.
circumstances.
And again, sort of linking that to any business is if you're engaged in marketing, if you're trying to sell something into somebody, but you don't get the pitch, you're not successful that time. What have you got out of that? Well, you got in front of somebody. They know who you are. Even if you didn't win this time, they might be coming back to you later on to say, actually, that didn't work out with that other provider, or we've got a different project and we think you'd be perfect for it. So you're always creating an opportunity when you're having those
100%.
interactions. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Okay. So I think that fits really nicely for our
Yeah.
listeners in terms of that. So, okay. So you practice this stuff, this universal laws.
I
How,
do.
how has it impacted you? I mean, you mentioned you've been acting for a number of years. When was that sort of significant change for you in terms of your mindset, your motivational mindset?
Well, it actually came to me and was most significant to me at my hardest point
Hmm.
was when my marriage broke down and I
Okay.
suddenly became a single mum
Hmm.
on a single income. So I had to go into universal credits and I was, yeah, it was a really, really difficult time in my life because I had a 1 year old and a 5 year old.
Hmm.
And I thought I've spent so much time focusing on, wanting to have a perfect family and doing things for other people that I kind of forgot about myself. Whereas actually, if I focus on myself a little bit more, I can actually be more of an influence to my children because I've got a daughter and I've got a son. But I, I think for me as a woman, I didn't want my daughter to follow in my footsteps and
Hmm.
think that when she gets to a certain age and when she gets married, she just has to become a mum and put her own wants and needs aside. Um, and yeah, what she was prepared to settle for. But
Hmm.
it's true for everybody. But from a personal point of view, it was for that. It was like having their needs and wants looked after. Making sure that I'm bringing in the income that
Hmm.
they need, that I can provide for them, but also being an inspiration for them. So that's when I started really leaning into it every
Hmm.
day and started really affirming to myself and listening to a meditation saying that, you know
Yeah.
what, everything is always working out for me. Because at that time, I believed that everything had gone really, really wrong.
Right. Okay.
But I
Yeah.
had to affirm to myself that everything was always working out for me. And doing that was really powerful,
Hmm.
really, really powerful. And I just follow, we get these intuitive hits, we get these thoughts in our minds. And that weren't there and that weren't there before when your mind is just like so foggy with
Mm.
worry and overwhelm and it's like you've got too many apps open in your mind. It's like you can't focus
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
properly
Yeah.
because you've just got all these apps open, so you just kind
Great
of
way.
need to
Yeah.
shut some down so that
Hmm.
you can focus and think, right, what do I really, really want?
Yeah.
Why is that important to me? And I think that is the key thing. And like what motivates me in everything every single day is writing down that goal, focusing on that goal. What do I want? Why do I really want it? Why is that important to me?
Yeah. And that's really interesting again from taking a look at that motivational mindset across a number of people I've spoken to already. It's about that goal setting as well. So, again, going back to what people think of manifesting about, I want this, so therefore it will appear. It's not as simple as that, is it? There is that mindset that says, actually, we need to have something to move towards. You've got to have an end point of the journey. Otherwise, you might just wander around,
Yes,
not getting
exactly.
anywhere.
Yeah. Having a focus
Yeah.
and a
Hmm.
target to get to.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, if there's no target, it's like shooting an arrow into open air and there's
Hmm.
no target to hit.
Mm.
And it will just sort of end up getting lost in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that goal piece is something that we hear time and time again when we talk about these mindsets. There is still that one sort of thread that seems to be going through a lot of it is where do you want to get to? Where we've got to make sure that happens. And it sounds like from your point of view, when you had that, that occurrence in your life around your marriage, etc., you've certainly got that drive. Something is giving you more of a focus. So when you mentioned this sort of going back to the practicality of what you do on a daily basis, you mentioned sitting there and clearing the apps out. What does that look
Clearing
like?
it.
Do you sit there for 10 minutes in the morning, for 3 hours, with your legs crossed, floating a couple of inches off the floor?
No, no, no.
No?
I do a lot of journaling.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Oh, that's interesting.
I lean into gratitude a lot.
Yeah.
So I do gratitude lists rather
Yep.
than focusing on what I haven't got.
Yep.
And I lean into the gratitude of what I have got.
Hmm.
And then I lean into the gratitude of what I want to create in the future.
Hmm.
Which, yeah, maybe that does go down the line of like, the sitting naked under the moon wishing on something.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
And then, so maybe it does sound a bit woo-woo. But funnily enough, when I focus on that,
Mm.
and I lean into gratitude of that, I do magically make it happen.
Yeah. Right.
And I know a lot of other people, I teach other people how to do this as well, and I got
Okay.
taught how to do it.
Yeah.
And then I write down the goal, and when I make that my goal, you have to be in alignment with your goal because of you have to be an energetic match to it, which is why I always
Okay.
say I'm a regular booking
Hmm.
TV actor.
Yeah.
Because if I stop saying that and I start it's about your self-image. What do you see yourself as? If I continue to see myself as a single mum raising children in housing association on universal credits, that's what I would stay as.
Yeah.
That was my previous self-image.
Hmm.
But I
Hmm.
was just like, no, I'm not settling for this anymore.
Yeah.
I want to be a regular booking TV actress with financial freedom, a great mum,
Hmm.
and then later down the line, when I got all of that, I decided that I wanted to help others because I didn't want them to go through that same thing that I went through because it
Oh,
was
wow.
horrible.
Yeah. 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 No, I think the a lot of people's uh switching of their mindsets or focusing on other things are created by the crap stuff, the horrible stuff that happens in our lives. And it
Yeah,
really is a bit of a driver. And again, from a business point of view, it's something that's we're always going through. To be perfectly honest, it's something that we're going through at the moment from our business point of view. No, there are certain challenges coming through, and actually the beginning of the year that we're in now, 2024, I've actually been more focused over the last 3 days than I've ever been in the last year.
that's amazing. Yeah, there is
You know,
something in New Year energy. I've got a great exercise for you, actually,
oh,
Richard, which all your listeners can benefit from as
yeah,
well. And that is if something is going the way that you don't want it to go, you can write that out, journal it out, in its frustration, let it all out.
yeah,
It's so annoying right now that the clients aren't coming in, the
hmm,
money isn't coming in, I'm
hmm,
feeling really worried about paying my mortgage,
hmm,
all the energy and frustration. And then read that and then write it out the way you do want your story to go.
yeah,
Like, I'm so happy and grateful now
hmm,
that It's amazing. I've attracted these clients, the money has come in,
Yeah.
everything just seems better. And then when you so you can rip up the first one, let it go. You know, if you're like me, you'd burn it with some sage and
Yeah.
let it off to the universe
Yeah.
and just
Okay.
let that go. Because
Hmm.
those thoughts are not going to serve you. Worrying about what is going to happen, that is just reacting to your current reality. And but if that's not what you want, you've got to let that go.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
you've got to focus on what you do want. So write out the story that you do want, because when you're focused on like, I'm so happy and grateful that the clients have come in, the money's turned up, I've or the acting job has turned up,
Hmm.
however it goes, however that new story is that you want to create, you can make that happen by focusing on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
Absolutely.
got
And
to let go of the old stuff
got to let
first.
go of the old stuff first. Absolutely. I think it's almost, yeah, clearing the house, clearing the decks, getting rid of all that stuff that's
100%. But you've got
dragging
to
you,
keep,
holding you back.
yeah,
Right.
100%.
Okay.
But you've got to
Yeah.
keep focusing on the new stuff because the
Yeah.
old stuff will want to keep coming back in. You've got to keep doing, looking at that new one, reading it out every single day. This is me. This is my new self-image. I'm the person that's successful.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting thing from a British cultural point of view, and the way we're taught to think, isn't it? Stiff upper lip. Oh, everything's a load of rubbish. This is crap, but never mind. We'll just keep going. And whereas in other countries, there's much more of an idea of, yeah, this is the dream. This is where we want to get to. When you think about the United States, yeah, I'm a salesperson and I'm going to be really successful. And woo, come on. And actually, what's wrong with that? Hello, hope you're enjoying this episode. When you've finished, why not subscribe to the Motivational Mindset podcast to learn more about motivation in business and beyond? Thanks. Now, back to the podcast. And
What?
I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
what's wrong with that?
absolutely. If it's something that really does drive you and gives you that motivation, and it is a mindset that works for you and isn't causing anybody else any issues, is all very safe from that point of view, then why not? I think,
Exactly.
we tend to be a little bit too reserved, I think, in our thinking
Yeah,
around
I
the
think
sort
we
of.
just got to let go of that as well. Like, why not just let go of that? Because, what does that success give you? That gives you more opportunities,
Mhm.
more security for your family.
Mm.
What's wrong with wanting that? We all
Yeah,
want that for our children.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's something it's quite interesting from an age point of view. When I was much younger, starting into careers and doing stuff, and actually, it's one of the reasons why I left acting for quite a while was, well, it's not the thing I should be doing. What do people think of me? Wanting to be
Yeah.
an actor. What? Oh, what? Stupid person. All of
I
those sort of
think
things.
worrying what other people think of us, not just you, that was definitely one of mine as well, is one of the big things that hold us
Yeah,
back. Like, wanting to
yeah,
please the parents, wanting to please the neighbors, wanting to please all those teachers from past life. So you can
yeah,
look them in the eye and say, guess what? I'm successful now. But
yeah,
actually, deep inside you, you're thinking, yeah, but I work on a salary. But actually, what I really wanted to do was go and start my own business
yeah.
somewhere and do this dream, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's still a little bit inside you killing you, even though you might
Got to let that go as well, haven't
yeah,
you?
gotta
Because
let that go as
I
well.
think as you go through the years, definitely now I'm finding it much easier to go, look, I don't give a monkeys what anybody else thinks of me because this is what I'm doing. And actually, it takes it a bit further into that universal side of things because when you're gone, you know, you're gone, and those people are either going to be gone themselves or won't remember who you are, or if they do, it doesn't impact you then. And actually, so you're wasting that energy now. We need to
Yeah,
get
so
up and
true. And
get up
and
and
the and like also like now like the people will wholeheartedly give us all their advice about what we should and shouldn't be doing, but giving their judgment or opinions or kind advice, however they want to look at it. But at the end of the day, it's not their life. They're not
yeah,
the one who has to go home and tuck themselves back in in bed at night and sit with your thoughts in your head, go, yeah, I've done it. I've paid my bills today, but is this actually what I want to do with my life? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, whereas if you can go out and do what you actually wanted to do and actually make a success of that, you go to bed a much, much happier person.
and I think, well, from my point of view, that's the main thing, isn't it? It's being able
Yeah.
to enjoy your day, be able to have a smile on your day. Because I don't know about you, but when I find I do that, I'm having much more of a significant impact on other people's lives. purely because I'm
Definitely.
sharing that bit of energy, and I'm
Yes, your
sharing that view of
energy's
the world.
better.
Yeah,
Yes, that's exactly it. Your energy's better because you feel happy, you feel fulfilled, you
yeah,
feel like you've given your gift to the world.
yeah,
And yeah, you feel
absolutely.
successful inside. That's a great way to feel.
And yeah, it feels good for you, feels good for other people. And talking of other
Exactly.
people, I know that you mentioned that you've been sort of taught around the laws of the universe and all of those sort of things, and you're now providing workshops and sessions with a group of like-minded individuals, particularly from, oh well, based around the acting side of
Yep.
things. Um, how are they getting on with this sort of motivated mindset? What are the sort of results coming out from that side of things?
Well, it's actually amazing. When you go in, I knew this worked for me, and I knew that I was helping my family and friends around it. But when I actually started teaching other actors how to do it,
Hmm.
it has been amazing. I've, taken some very frustrated actors who didn't realize that they had low self-worth. They
Okay.
they yeah, because I think on a conscious level we think, oh yeah, I can do that. Yeah, 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 I can do that. But then on a subconscious level, we're full of fear and doubt
Hmm.
and often unworthiness when we're trying to jump to a new level, thinking, oh, that feels too big for me.
Hmm.
But actually, what I've seen is actors of all ages from their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s go from not having no kind of prospects really, and some of them haven't even been to drama school or anything like that,
Hmm.
but they've gone through training a different route, which is absolutely fine, by the way. I don't think that everybody needs to go to drama school, but they've just worked and done outside classes, and they've got themselves to a decent level that way, and they've gone from not really knowing much to now having agents, booking regular acting work, getting loads of auditions, and also just because of their energetic alignment, like they have such good vibes now, and they're throwing that positive energy into the world, and people are just coming to them from out of the blue, like reaching out to work with them because it's this invisible energy that you can't see. Not you, just you can't see. It's not that I can see it. Like nobody can see it. It's like gravity. It's an
Yeah.
invisible energy. You can't
Hmm.
see it, but it's working all the time.
Hmm.
So this energy is just going out into the world,
Hmm.
and people are being drawn to them. They're getting emails, people reaching out to them on Instagram, just saying, oh, I've seen you. Can I work with you? Or even haven't seen you, just opportunities
Hmm.
arriving in their inboxes, or reaching out to them because they've seen their online profile and said, I've got something going
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really, really good. They've been booking acting jobs and they're getting regular castings. Like they feel like they're winning. And I feel like I'm winning because I've
Yeah.
turned
Loving
some
it. Yeah.
lives around. Yeah. I think probably one of the most special stories is someone who was in a similar position to me. And she is a single mum. She's on my course now. She's only 3 months into it, and I didn't realize that she wasn't even on Spotlight. You're probably some of your listeners don't know what Spotlight is, but it is the professional platform that you have to be on
Hmm.
if you want to go for the big TV jobs. It's the one that you have to be on if you want to have an agent. But she wasn't on it. But she's a single mum. She's got twins, one with special needs and a little boy
Hmm.
as well, all young. And she just thought that she couldn't do it, but she really, really wanted to do it. And she kind of got to that point, like I was, and she just thought, but the pull is still there,
Hmm.
and I just want to do it. So she
Hmm.
did. She invested in herself, and now, and she got onto Spotlight. She's booked 2 commercials. She got a new agent, and she's only 3 months in. So I like, it's amazing what that motivation can do. So even if things are going really badly for you right now, sometimes it is the catalyst that you need to change your life.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
magical and I love it.
And it's a really interesting one from an acting point of view. We would, from a motivational maps point of view, and we spoke to James in our first episode around this sort of thing. That sort of leans itself towards the idea that we have a creative motivator, a creative motive called creation motivator, which wants to be innovative, wants to do things differently, wants to be creative in our work life, and that gives us energy and it makes us want to do that. And that pull, that law, that keeps us going, keeps us moving forward is really interesting. The number of people who I'm speaking to, my wife included, who has started to switch the way she looks at things around. I need to get that creation piece going. She's an artist. She hasn't done artistic work for a long time because she's been too busy in corporate land and working with our business. But now she's started doing her prints and doing all these other things, and she's getting them onto Instagram. And the difference in the energy you can see is
Yeah.
just incredible. And there's so many people. You go on LinkedIn and you see what people do outside of work, going, "Oh yeah, I'm in a band." People go, "Oh yeah, and here's that album I've written." What? Wow. I mean, fantastic. And they're like, "Well, yeah, now I'm starting to get into it because I've done all the drudge and the grind, and now I'm allowing myself to do it. What if
Yeah,
I'd
I
done
think there
that
is an
sooner?"
energy of feeling that we have to pay our dues.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly. Yeah, that's an interesting one. So do
yeah,
we?
whereas I
Do we
think,
have to do the grind?
I don't think we do. I mean, if you tell yourself you do, then you
Mhm.
do, but but actually, if you say, do you know what, this is what I do, and this is what I want to do, and I'm just going
Mhm.
to allow myself to do it, and I'm just going to ignore all the naysayers, and I'm just going to allow myself to do it anyway,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
maybe that's okay too.
I love that. I love that. So all of you people out, if any listeners out there who are early stages of careers and are going back into the work environment, are you doing what really gives you the energy? Are you doing things that makes a difference for you as well as
Yeah.
others? Because I think that idea of being, and this is one might be explore a little bit more, but that idea about being selfish in terms of a view of life as well, which is interesting because you talk about being a mother and having families and having to do the hard work there, but you know,
Oh,
you
I definitely
yeah,
thought I was being selfish, but actually, I think I was being more selfish by not allowing myself to do what I wanted to do
okay,
because I was being selfish to myself. And actually, I was being, which meant that I was just turning up as, I don't know, like a robot every day,
mm,
going through
yeah,
the actions of making my kids breakfast and taking them to school. But my energy wasn't there. I was not feeling creatively fulfilled. But now I'm so much happier. They get a happier version of me, you know?
that, yeah. Yeah, and it does make so much of a difference, doesn't it? If
Yeah.
you're in the right headspace, if you're in the right mood, if you have that motivation behind you, everything seems to be a little bit easier, doesn't it? There's almost they
Yeah.
talk about it from a sports science point of view. They call it being in flow.
Yeah.
So tennis players, when they're hitting the tennis ball, they're hitting it at the sweet spot. It's just everything is working correctly. All their muscles in their body are doing the right thing because their brain is actually, or their mind, their subconscious mind is actually going, yeah, we're feeling
Yeah.
good.
And that is what a manifestor
Yeah.
would call being in alignment.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
So,
it's like swinging the golf ball. You can swing it so many times, and if you swing it wrong, it can go thud on the floor right next
yeah.
to you, even though you've given it a really big swing. So it's not necessarily about hard work and effort. It is about being in flow with what you want. Whereas
Okay.
you can hit it perfectly spot on because you are so in alignment with what you want,
Yeah.
and you're ignoring sort of, it's that focus, and
Yeah, yeah.
then you can hit it for hundreds of yards
Yeah.
down the fairway.
Yeah. Nice. Liking your analogies. These are going well. We've got golf analogies. We've had app analogies. So we can all connect to these sort of things. It's brilliant. Okay, so I think one of the key things that with this particular podcast is to. I know you've given us some ideas around the journaling side of things, which is really interesting. If there was, one key thing from the universal laws point of view that you would suggest people either, gather more information about or could go and even go and do, is there something that you would suggest to the listeners that they may want to have a try at? Is there anything particular, or is it just that
Oh,
sort of frame of mind?
I mean, I've mentioned on goals, so
Yeah.
I won't retouch on that one. Um, yeah, but yeah, so the first one is goals and have a vision.
Okay.
You don't have a vision, you got no destination. You don't know where you're going. You'll
Yeah.
get lost. But I think the other one, which has been really, really helpful, is to close down the apps, get really, really clear,
Okay.
is to declutter.
Yeah.
Decluttering is so important. Declutter the thoughts in your mind. And
Hmm.
sometimes that is just helping your mind go quiet. Go for a nice walk in the forest, get really, really quiet, turn your phone off. Like your wife does, she does her painting. I bet that makes her mind go really, really quiet,
Hmm.
and I know other people that paint as well. I am not an artist. I can just about draw a stick man. So mine is walking in the forest.
Okay.
Um, but also physically decluttering as well,
Mm.
because there's another law called the law of vacuum, which means that you can't, everything, is full of energy. Like we are all full of energy. Everything is made up of energy. But if you imagine a water bottle, a full water bottle, you can't let any more into that water bottle unless you let some of the old water out.
Yeah.
So you've got to let the old energy out
Hmm.
to make room for your new manifestations to come in. So clear up your old thoughts if you can. I mean, I've had to do this through working with professionals, which is why I help other actors to do that as well professionally. But you can clean up your house, clean up your junk drawer. We've all got stuff that we haven't used in years. We can let that go. And as soon as
Yeah.
we start letting things go,
Hmm.
we make room for more stuff. And if we're doing it with the intention as well,
Mm.
with that vision in mind of our goal, we're making room, and that allows space for the apps to be closed down, and that one app that you want to be working to work really, really well. And that is when you will
Okay.
start to get the intuitive hits.
Right. Okay.
That's when you'll start to get the really, really good ideas, and then it's
Hmm.
your job to take action on those really, really good ideas that come to you.
Taking action. I think that's one of the key things that's come out of this from my point of view, particularly around the manifesting side of things, is that it isn't just sitting there going, oh, I wish. There is action involved.
Oh,
Of course there is.
100%. When you
Yeah.
take action, the universe reacts as well.
Okay. Yeah. Like it.
But we can take wrong action, from feeling like we've got to do really, really hard work, or we
Okay.
can take aligned action.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And again,
Because
that must come from more from the goal point of view as well. So if you've got that
more from the goal. Yeah. When you take
specificity of
action
goal.
towards your goal, when you
Yeah.
visualize your goal and
Yeah.
think, what actions can I do today that are going to move me towards that goal?
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
Come up with like 3, 4, 5, 6 actions that you can do every single day. And, because at the beginning, that goal might seem like a mountain.
Yeah.
But all you've got to do is take little steps up that mountain every single day, and you will soon reach the top. And when you do it every day with alignment, the universe will meet you halfway
Love
and help
that.
you, or give you a
Yeah.
boost.
Yeah, it fits really nicely actually. From any business point of view, and again, acting is a business, so you've got to have that sort of marketing view of the world, haven't you? You've got to have those things you're going to do on a daily basis that'll move you towards your goal of being on whatever show or doing whatever theatre, and similar sort of things that we do is we have what we would call that cookbook. So what are we doing on a weekly basis? How many times are we marketing ourselves on LinkedIn? How many times are we on Instagram to make sure that we're doing those? Who are we speaking to? Are we networking? Are we, all of these things go
Yeah. And I was
together.
speaking to the
So,
right people. And also, I think when you go into those meetings, those scary meetings, those interviews, is like not to put the casting director or the interviewer on a pedestal.
yeah,
Meet them on their level, because everybody has the same, we're all made up of the same stuff. We've
yeah,
all got families and, creative stuff that we like to do. And so just remember that they're just people at the end of the day. I mean, of course, you want to show up professional and do a good job, but, own your power as well, you know?
I
Like,
love
don't
that one. Yeah,
take them off the pedestal,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you're there because they've asked to meet you.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. It comes back to that being worthy, doesn't it?
Yeah, they've asked
Worthiness
to
is
meet you.
there.
They already
Yeah,
think you're worthy
yeah,
to show up worthy.
yeah. Do a great job. Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. So we've got our goals. So for those listeners out there, those top tips, goals are still the key thing. And I think this is probably something that's going to come up over and over again with all the conversations I have on this podcast. But I
Sure.
think the goal piece is really, really important. And of
Yeah.
course, closing down those apps, decluttering, making some space. for the universe to meet you halfway. Well, I tell you what, it's fantastic conversation we've had here today, Terema. Thank you ever so much for your
You're
time.
welcome. Can I just add one thing
Oh,
here?
yeah, please do.
Because I think, because it's New Year and people are thinking New Year, new goals.
Yeah.
Sometimes where I see people reach their pitfalls is because they try to set too many new goals all at once.
Okay, that's good.
Just focus on one or two.
Yeah.
A personal goal and a business goal.
Yeah.
Just one or two goals.
Mm-hmm.
And just start taking actions on those. And then when you start feeling like you can take on a bit more, take on a little bit more then. But if you try and change too much too soon, you will send your mind into frenzy and you will open up a gazillion and one apps again.
And none of it will get done.
And none of it will get done. No,
Yeah,
you will
exactly.
stop before February, you will stop.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's the same with every gym in the country. It's going to be busy and full for the next few weeks, and then it will go silent in Feb when everybody goes, no, I'm never going to reach that. I'm not going to do that. The old voices start coming back into the head, don't they? And and off you go.
That's it. Because they've taken on too much too soon. And we all do it. I've definitely done it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Totally put my hands up, without a doubt. So I'm going to go away and make sure I've got my goals refined. I'm also going to declutter my desk because I'm looking at it now going, oh, this is not good. I'm not letting stuff in here. So I need to go and do that as well. But if anybody would like to connect with you, Terema, what's the best way they can do that?
Well, if you're an actor, and you're on Facebook, I highly recommend that you request to join my Facebook group called Manifesting Actors, where you will be positively inspired every day. And I'm always putting on there positive, inspirational posts, and also letting you know how you can work with me on there as well. But if you wanted to drop me a personal email, you can write to me at manifestingactors@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Again, thanks ever so much for your time. And I hope 2024 is a fantastically successful year for you as ever.
Thank you. And to you and all your listeners as well.
Thank you very much, Terema. Nice to speak to you. Goodbye. This was a Switch Motivation production from Switch Performance Limited. Music by Dennis Kischuk from Pixabay, the Motivational Mindset Podcast. Download, listen, subscribe.